Alright, it is currently, just so you can see, it's 3:46 p.m. Just going to show you where the fake sun is on this day in 2024. This is impossible light activity. It's light reaching into the depths of a covered hallway. This is a pattern of contact starting with light. And that's the light source. And it's amplified audible activity, crossing path, group stalking. Alright, this is impossible light activity that's also on the sidewalks. I just want to be clear so you can see that again. This is LAPD gang stalking me by helicopter in Los Angeles. This is impossible light activity. It's light reaching into the depths of a covered hallway. This is a pattern of contact starting with light. And that's the light source. And it's amplified audible activity, crossing path, group stalking. Alright, this is impossible light activity that's also on the sidewalks. Same timer. And that's impossible light activity that's on the side of the building where the LAPD is group stalking in the path. And criminal facilitation is also underway while they are enabling group stalkers like this female that is inside of this garage over here at the neighboring venue in relevant position, who was group stalking with the state that seconds earlier before LAPD just flew over by a helicopter. The entity flew over at relevant position over my head as I'm walking out of this hallway, amplifies plane activity. She's group stalking, crossing path, walks to the vehicle, uses her vehicle door as a means of audible activity, and then crossing path while I'm being molested with impossible light activity. You're looking at what is the multiple shadows that I have. This is terrorism. Impossible light, all of this directed light, this is terrorism. The entity surrounds you with this demonic environment while it is criminally monitoring you with the people, including those that are outside of Alvarado Gardens. This is called relevant position. This is the state system. And she's monitoring with the Los Angeles Police Department. She is subject to federal prison. Okay, the federal government will reach over there and snatch her out of that garage and put her in a federal cell. This is P.O.C. It is currently 3:47 p.m. That's the people engaging in possible threat. Again, so there's the fake sun in perfect alignment with me at the same time in Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens. I'm standing at building 1806 at this time. That's 1806 North Alvarado Street, Los Angeles, California. Again, this is February 23rd, 2024. This is time of year analysis regarding recognizing what the natural environment does and where stalking by a government that is engaging in what is practicing a demonic system of gang stalking an American citizen, surrounding them with the demon possessed, who are maliciously targeting one person as an entire community at all times and at all places. And it is shown through, it is proven by the maintenance in the way that you see here. The sun that's remaining over, again, you saw RGS group stalking under the fake sun this morning. The fake sun is at the same address, speaking to what RGS was doing, not lawful landscaping. The malicious engagement through a commercial means of federal group stalking and monitoring. Those gang stalkers are going to be prosecuted, and if any of them are immigrants gang stalking, those are going to be deported. And that's the same analysis and the process for prosecuting domestic terrorism in the state. This fake sun that's in alignment to me here is not going to be in perfect alignment with Tracy Banks' patio glass door, and that's how you see AVANATH practicing what is ongoing impunity. That's why everybody in units 33 through 64 are indeed going to federal prison. This is the conduct that Daryl J. Carter, a corrupt CEO and chairman over a corrupt landlord company, while a sex offense that the entity is gang stalking and is aware that it's being documented, they engage in that sort of impunity, and that's exactly what's ongoing. You also know the malice of, that's AVANATH Capital Management causing itself more damages that's going to be awarded in civil court, and also greater time in federal prison, because that gang stalker, who is one monitoring a woman in a private space and does so with impunity, because he is doing so under the fake sun that he knows is there for his criminal engagement and stalking me 24 hours a day, and also maliciously under the guise of being an employee at a gang stalking venue, such as was the case at Speaker Companies, where I was subject to the same criminal system, and they were all engaging in that with the LAPD, and that's exactly what they're doing at Woodside Senior Apartments, and you just saw the intentional engagement in that by AVANATH Capital Management, who was gang stalking with the entire venue. So not only am I showing you the fake sun starting this video with that, I've been documenting again the maintenance of the fake sun that you'll see this morning, where again at 11 o'clock this morning, this is where AVANATH Capital Management's employee is crossing path, and he knows that he's being captured on video. That's speaking to impunity. And so you're going to put, again, those that actually hate this country, if this is an immigrant that's in this country, being employed in this country, you don't exercise any constitutionally protected rights to engage in terrorism in plain sight. And this is what the state government
government is teaching people in this country to engage in, while California practices federal group stalking and monitoring. It is no wonder that you have, again, lawlessness by those who have been trained by the corruption that the state of California practices, where they have no regard for the law, even while those that are exhibiting hostility, while you're showing the fact that immigrants, they deserve to be deported. And that's exactly what's going to happen to them. And if this gang stalker that works for AVANATH, Dale J. Carter, shame on him and that entirely corrupt company that use their commercial means for domestic terrorism in this country, even those that have been granted the privilege to be here. So if this is, again, legally significant, the demon in Unit 41 is going to federal prison. And so are the adult occupants in Unit 41 going to federal prison. AVANATH Capital Management facilitates federal group stalking and monitoring, while under the fake sun, they're engaging in what is profiting while stalking in the path while I'm being molested in the apartment with Engineer Light. The entity is keeping the fake sun over me. RGS and AVANATH Capital Management are indeed gang stalking. All right. Not only that, you're looking at them crossing path, gang stalking me in plain sight, because this is how you're engaging in the system of surveillance. That's the significance of all of that, which is not sunlight. Doing so while you are also, while I'm capturing video, that's evidence of the entity that acts with impunity. Meaning, he wants to go to federal prison. He does not care that he's going to federal prison. And it's also notable the threat that this third party is to the children that he is in custody and at close access to. Okay, because that's how much my genitalia is more important to him than minor children whom he's going to be separated from when he goes to prison. That's speaking to a sex offender that should have no and shall have no access to minor children while you're crossing paths with impunity. This is not suggesting ignorance while you're under the fake sun. This is not suggesting a coincidence when you're under the fake sun. It's speaking to impunity. It's the same impunity that they exercise when the Ontario Police Department flies over this apartment, flies over my head, while I'm also documenting that pattern of conduct. This is the criminal activity of AVANATH Capital Management. And I wanted to start this video documentation with that, of what is same time of year, same time analysis, while the fake sun remains stationary over Alvarado Gardens. And I also want to at the same time remind you about, one second, let me get, I want to also remind you about what is the engineered light that remains inside of the apartment, where AVANATH Capital Management provides no mystery for the federal government to have to investigate, because inside of the apartment, that's also speaking to the intent and the impunity that this sex offender identified by company name, sex offender identified by literally the individual, that's a part of an entity. The state of California, the city of Ontario is a sex offender, the entity itself, and the entity that is Woodside Senior Apartments remain AVANATH Capital Management, that is gang stalking at an apartment complex, and where AVANATH's employees are practicing this sexual violence and doing so with impunity, engaging and having the audacity, in other words, to gang stalk somebody on video. This is the same thing that I'm continuously vocalizing about, because you need to recognize the malice and the impunity that's exhibited while the entity is, it's already bad enough that they're gang stalking, but the entity does it on camera with regard to the disregard, the ongoing illusion that they enjoyed before. Gang stalking somebody in your face and they don't even know what they're subject to. So they're doing it to a federal prosecutor. They're doing it while the federal government is aware of what they're doing. And they are doing it while they're engaged in federal stalking. All of this is surrounding what is the decision by the state government to, in the face of what is the documentation showing terrorism underway by that state government, the state government in the face of the federal government prosecuting it, investigating it, maintaining a case against it, is engaging. That's the significance of a third party, an engineered light under a fake sun, walking on camera in order to engage in an act of terrorism, targeting an American citizen, targeting a woman who is enforcing her rights. That's what I represent when I'm documenting this phenomenon of a fake sun. And you're intentionally creating light in the path. You're intentionally doing so while you know I have a body of evidence prosecuting you, your employer, everybody living at the venue, the city of Ontario, the state of California. And doing so, that's representing, understand the impunity that the mayor has, because it's embodied in this sex offender that's gang stalking at Woodside Senior Apartments. The impunity that the chief of police, that the entire Ontario police have, it's embodied in this sex offender that's gang stalking on video. All right, this is the attitude of the terrorists that fill the state, that are engaging in what is the sex offense of federal group stalking and monitoring. And so not only did I want to start this video with what is the reminder about what's going on in an entire different region as I documented the P.O.C. and I remain subject to it, I want to remind you about the impossible light activity that's inside of the apartment, where the demons are also intentionally monitoring me while I'm inside, and they're monitoring my genitalia on a 24-hour basis every time that I'm physically indisposed, every time that I'm in that private space. Demons that you see exhibiting that hostility, doing so, that same impunity that you see by gang stalking in real, I'm going to go ahead and cross path. I'm going to go ahead and monitor and in the face of, literally in the substance of the evidence that's going to be presented against me. That's the significance of crossing path and under the fake sun and engineered light while the video evidence is being collected in real time. It is the same thing as the any police, not just Ontario police, but any police department which I've captured over years, engaging in what is the ongoing accumulation of federal charges and more time in federal prison, essentially, while they're engaging in what is, for example, terrorizing me by gang stalking me on video by helicopter while I'm documenting the fact that the state is gang stalking through means such as by helicopter in concert with the people of the state. So this is how you have the entity at the same apartment complex at 11:40 in the morning. The fake sun's in the same position where you see it at 11:40 in the morning. This sex offender that lives in Unit 41 working for a gang stalking landlord company is crossing path under that phenomenon, and he's not ignorantly doing so. And he also does so in the face of evidence that's being collected to that end to prosecute him and the rest of the venue. They're all going to federal prison in units 33 through 64 for the impunity that they share in. All right. And now what you see on the outside is relevant to what's also going on the inside. And I want you to recall the impossible light activity that I captured not only today, but I captured it also, as you can see, the timestamps regarding, hold on, I want to get the timestamps on the side of the camera rather than, there you go, rather than on the top and bottom. I am uploading evidence online. That's why these are here. Okay, it's still uploading. And so that's why, okay, this is done. So I'm going to close this one. All right, this is, again, real-time publishing and real-time monitoring. That's also why AVANATH Capital Management is engaging in what is the outward demonstration of obsession. This is somebody that is demon-possessed. This is somebody that is a violent sex offender, monitoring a woman. This is not a secret. A sex offender is interested in monitoring my genitalia, monitoring me inside of a bathroom, and then wanting to appear as though they're normal and healthy and not a sex offender, for example, while they are living with women, while they have access to children, but they are very much interested and obsessed with what's going on with me. I'm a stranger to this third party, but this is a third party that salivates and worships my genitalia as a demon-possessed group stalker who is so obsessed he is engaging in the elements of monitoring while video evidence prosecuting him, the company, the venue, and the state in real time. Okay, so you're understanding all of that at the same time, and this is the impossible light that this sex offender is also intentionally monitoring me in, and this is the environment where all of them in units 33 through 64 are acting with impunity together, and that's AVANATH Capital Management being prosecuted, and AVANATH Capital Management is not absorbing any federal charges to help the elderly at Woodside. They are intentionally and individually, as a part of one entity, choosing to engage in activity creation, choosing to engage in what is ongoing impunity while they're stalking in the path, stalking with light activity, and stalking with ongoing audible activity. Stalking in the path while I'm documenting hours of prolonged psychological torture. And AVANATH Capital Management and no third-party company, no deep pockets, in other words, are going to supplement, or not supplement, you're not going to exchange or interfere with the prosecution of the domestic terrorists who will be individually prosecuted when that entity is broken down. This is the ongoing obsession that is speaking to, again, they don't understand how it's going to work, but you don't have to have a legal understanding. All you have to do is not engage in terrorism and not engage in stalking somebody, and you don't have to worry about these type of consequences. But I want to make sure that it's clear, because these are the type of things that these violent sex offenders and these demons think. You're not going to negotiate your way out of a federal prosecution in prison or out of damages. You're not going to help somebody else that can't afford the damages or help somebody else avoid prison. If you pay more damages, there will be no NDAs. There will be no exchange for federal prison. I am not making any negotiations with Satan or with the state at all. And neither shall justice and under any circumstances be compromised as such. And I want to be clear, this is the ignoramus that's crossing path under the fake sun, and this is speaking to damages. This is speaking to the psychological torture that I'm always documenting with that same level measure of impunity and ceaseless engagement in criminal activity with blatant disregard for what they themselves will suffer and everybody else that's gang stalking with them. That's everything that you're gathering while a demon, a third party, a domestic terrorist is in real time and choosing to continuously engage in state action, not private activity, not constitutionally protected conduct for any lawful or legitimate employer. The employer is gang stalking, the property is gang stalking, the entire city is gang stalking while the evidence of a fake sun. While you compare it to any video, as you isolate the venue of Woodside Senior Apartments, and even as you compare it to what's happening in LA at the same time of year, where the sun is not, there is necessarily more than one sun, which defies nature, which speaks to malice, which speaks to the ongoing intentional engagement of what is terrorizing someone that is aware of it, and you have no basis to remain outside of federal prison where you engage in domestic terrorism at that level of impunity. So I want to make sure, and I want to specifically articulate all of that. This is the same gang stalker that is representing the company. Linda Reyes is going to federal prison. Okay, she's going to federal prison, and so is her co-worker, this demon that's crossing path, representing the company. And the company, Daryl J. Carter, the CEO and chairman over a corrupt, malicious actor, a company that is a sex offender, a company that is a domestic enemy, a company that is acting with impunity as its employees and the venue itself and the state is capable of continuously engaging in what is terrorizing an American citizen, psychologically torturing an American citizen, threatening an American citizen. And it's also evident about what AVANATH Capital Management, a third party, and AVANATH Capital Management's employees, third parties, acting with the impunity that you witnessed in this video while they are all engaged in federal stalking, knowing what I'm documenting, in other words, as I document it, and making a decision. I'm still going to continuously engage in terrorizing somebody while it is literally an act of terrorism while you're gang stalking an American citizen. So this is the state that's doing that, and I just want to make sure that all of that aspect is appreciated and recognized while a demon is crossing path under the fake sun in engineer light. All right, you do so intentionally and knowingly and maliciously, speaking to your obsession, which is a threat to the life of an American citizen. While you're doing so, while I'm documenting it. It's bad enough that you're gang stalking me and you're worshiping my genitalia. It is even worse, if that's fathomable, but it is even a step up more of a threat. While the entity that is engaged in that unfathomable level of a sex offense and terrorism in the States do so while that American citizen is no longer ignorant, but is documenting it in order to prosecute such stalkers and sex offenders. That is one whose mental instability is not reasonably questioned either. Okay, so I just want to make sure that that's clear. This is the light activity that's inside of the apartment while AVANATH Capital Management employees are engaging in that ongoing sex offense, monitoring a woman in violation of the Violence Against Women Act, and doing so on behalf of the entity, the state of California, as a part of a statewide pattern of conduct, which is also already captured with regard to prosecuting the state. What Woodside Senior Apartments is doing is exactly what Alvarado Gardens was doing, which is what the entire state of California is doing, and that is all supported by tangible, hard facts and evidence. All right, so this is what I documented yesterday at 3:33 p.m. If you'll recall the impossible light activity that's on the ceiling. All right, I just want to show this stream of engineer light right here. Let me go ahead and give you even better. This stream of engineer light, you can see this right here, and it's flickering right here in the center. In the ceiling. Now, what I documented, the entity gang stalking, that's reaching all the way here. This is the stream of engineer light. And I documented this morning engineered light of this nature sweeping across. It was dynamic. It's dynamic here because there's a flickering light. It's dynamic. It's sweeping across the ceiling. This is coinciding with demons like the employee of AVANATH Capital Management that you see. All they're doing is walking outside. They're driving outside while the engineered light is inside terrorizing an American citizen. This is psychological torture and it's criminal interference with quiet enjoyment. It is how the demon possessed are monitoring someone. Everyone monitoring is stalking. So you're stalking while you're wearing a logo or being on the job or being paid a salary to engage in what is the malicious engagement of a government that is using a population to stalk you. You will be prosecuted for criminal stalking on behalf of a corrupt government, engaging in what is public corruption, in other words, doing so, criminally facilitating and acting in furtherance of murder and kidnapping while you are doing so on the job. That's the malice of the state. And what's happening is exactly what you saw on video. The demon representing AVANATH Capital Management, that's gang stalking, they are engaging in what is crossing a path in the way that you see. While inside, engineered light that's appearing on the ceiling on the inside of the apartment, an entire phenomenon having nothing to do with sunlight. As you also know, because I'm documenting a fake sun that's remaining over Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles and over Woodside Senior Apartments. And both of these separate venues, the phenomenon of not only the sun being at both of them at the same time of year, same time of day, but you're talking about for the duration of the day. The fake sun rising and setting over me while I'm inside of my apartment and on the job at Alvarado Gardens. The fake sun rising and setting at the specific apartment in alignment to me at Woodside Senior Apartments. This is the intentional engagement of crossing path by stalkers, including AVANATH Capital Management, who is represented by its employees, representing by the third parties that reside at the venue, while they are engaged in the same exact behavioral pattern in the same facilitating venue on behalf of the same corrupt government, the state of California. And that's why AVANATH Capital Management and demons that are working for the corrupt company, Daryl J. Carter, a demon that I don't have to personally know or ever meet. in order to prosecute him and prosecute that company that is an established sex offender that acts with impunity and is engaged in what is the program of psychological torture while they're profiting off of domestic terrorism and psychological torture underway while they make money as managing as a landlord real estate property, and the system of federal group stalking and monitoring is underway. All right, this is what the entity is doing, and they will be civilly and criminally prosecuted for it. And so this engineer light that's on the ceiling on the inside of the apartment is also, as I documented today, on the floor, okay, at what is 3:01 p.m. But again, I want to be clear. I took images of this with regard to the document entitled WSA-The People. Let me just go ahead and reference that right here. WSA-The People. This is what I documented this morning while RGS is gang stalking in the path. This morning, the engineer light is appearing across the ceiling, and then it's dynamic, meaning it sweeps across the ceiling. And I'm speaking to a pattern of conduct, so you are aware of what the entity is doing in the specific environment. The specific environment is the only thing that doesn't change. The specific environment is the only thing that doesn't change. With regard to the behavioral pattern is the same. And the only thing that is vacillating, because it's not changing, it's one entity, it's the state of California. The state of California is not only the government proper, it's the government acting vicariously, the people of the state, who do things such as gang stalk you where they work, and gang stalk you where they live, and gang stalk you wherever it is that they are going in places under the law, under the Constitution, designated as public property, for example, or the private property, or another where a demon-possessed gang stalker, a state actor, is operating or exercising the illusion of constitutional protections that they don't have. So this is, again, revealing the mask of the government that is not on private property. It's a facilitating venue in the specific environment. And in the specific environment, everybody goes to federal prison. If you are living at that crime scene, if you are working at that crime scene, where you're acting in furtherance of kidnapping and murdering an American citizen, and then you do so maliciously. You thought that you were so clever, in other words, that you could do it in the face of an American citizen and get away with murdering and kidnapping them, which is what the state of California has been practicing for decades. Okay, it's malice, and it is the organized crime of a government murdering people, okay, and kidnapping people. All right, in real time, 4:08 p.m., the demon in unit number 55, who you will see her face right here. She's gang stalking still. She's going to a mental asylum, and she's acting with impunity in doing so. This is the third party right here, license 5WUB715. This is the demon that's in unit number 55, who is stalking with activity while I'm moving my hand right now. You can't see me, but I am moving my hands around while I'm speaking with simultaneity to my physical movement while engineer light fills this apartment and the fake sun remains over the venue. This stalker is engaged in psychological torture, punctuating my physical movement, which is with amplified noise at the same time. This is doing so, monitoring me, stalking. You're monitoring where you're stalking, where you're monitoring. And you're doing so with AVANATH Capital Management, okay? You see AVANATH Capital Management employees gang stalking on video, and you're witnessing AVANATH Capital Management gang stalking inside of an apartment via amplified audible activity, amplified audible activity while I'm inside of an apartment, because the demon in 55 is gang stalking with the employees of AVANATH Capital Management, who continuously exhibit impunity, and that's directly relevant to the damages designed to drain their pockets and also to punish them. It's designed to devastate corrupt actors, domestic terrorists like AVANATH Capital Management, a corporate actor that the state of California in the United States, how terrorism is underway through corporate actors, through commercial actors like AVANATH Capital Management, where in America they want to make money while they murder and kidnap American citizens. Okay, so I just want to make sure that I go through that. This is what the entity is doing, and this is what I documented this morning while you're looking at what is the fake sun that's remaining. RGS was in the parking lot in relevant position, in other words, stalking in the path at a facilitating venue where the fake sun remains over this particular building right here in alignment to me for the duration of the day. And this is where third parties, where engineer light, like you see in the video here, like I'm documenting it yesterday afternoon on the ceiling, this is what I have here on the bottom, and what I'm documenting today while it's on the floor. This is the same pattern of conduct with regard to stalking with impossible light activity, and what's going on outside of the apartment are things like you see in the video. The people of the state, here it's AVANATH Capital Management that you saw in this video, but it doesn't have to be an employee, it can be a stranger. It's a third party, it's the entity, and they're maintaining presence in the path in units 33 through 64. They're always physically surrounding, living at the venue, while the entire entity, by aircraft, by vehicles that are coming onto the grounds of the venue, by the demons that live and work here, pacing around on the sidewalk and in the parking lot, everywhere. They're all in engineered light monitoring, and on the inside of the apartment, just like this demon license 8GEN638 committed, as I documented, inside of the apartment, engineered light is appearing across the ceiling. This is what I documented at 8 o'clock in the morning several days ago, while engineered light is dynamic across the ceiling. That's an impossible occurrence, and it is also that which is intended to psychologically torture an American citizen. It is pursuant to a pattern of conduct of stalking with light which defies nature. It's not the product of sunlight, but it's also that which follows my physical activity. It follows my internet activity, my activity and use of my devices. It also occurs more so the more that I document, the more that the phenomenons occur. This is coexisting with what is present in that phenomenal environment. In the environment where I've already proven that the fake sun is remaining stationary over this specific apartment building facing me, in order that the entity that is stalking as a population can maintain the elements of monitoring under a fake sun and in engineered light, where they are engaging in all manner of nothing other than activity creation, which is no constitutionally protected conduct. AVANATH Capital Management committed it on video. Okay, they're doing so even while they stay outside of my video like a fool. These are the ones with baboon poo for brains, because even while they stay off of my video, they foolishly walk in my video. Okay, that's a fool. But the entity is living at the venue. He's not avoiding prison. And if this is it would be a blessing to this country if this is an immigrant. I know that his wife is an immigrant, and I believe she was deported. She's not welcome back. She was gang stalking when she was here, and she's not coming back into this country. If she is back, she's getting deported. But this third party that works for AVANATH, he's gang stalking, and if he also is an immigrant being granted the privilege to be here, he's going to find out that his papers are going to be revoked and he's being deported. That's the same with all of his adult children. The grandchildren that he's a sexually violent threat to, worshiping my genitalia, and then also having custody of minor children, access to minor children at the same time. You are asking for those children to be violated. Okay? He is violating another woman that I clearly don't consent to, and you're watching him commit a sex offense on video. Okay, these sex offense committed by an entity. That's what's significant about what is going on inside of this apartment, and it defies nature. So this is the light activity that's not on the ceiling, it's on the floor. But this is, again, speaking to all manner of what is a circus-like environment. As I show you the fake sun outside, the engineered light that they're walking in to monitor me. Okay, and they're also doing so inside of this apartment. This is documentation of what is terrorism via directed light. That's a very serious federal offense that corrupt companies like AVANATH Capital Management are going to be prosecuted for. And it's relevant to the Violence Against Women Act. It's relevant to what is federal stalking under Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2, meaning the knowledge that you have about me, documenting the fact that you're terrorizing me and you're worshiping my genitalia, being a sex offender, and you walk in front of that camera, evidence that's going to be used by the federal government to put you in cages, every single last one of them. Okay? That's impunity. All right, anybody that acts with impunity regarding blowing up buildings and terrorizing American citizens, it will be treated in the same manner with regard to the calculated system of murdering and kidnapping and psychologically torturing American citizens in order to murder and kidnap them, with regard to gang stalking and doing so with impunity, especially as documentation is underway. All right, so this is the engineered light that's on the ceiling. Hold on.
It's 3:01
on the floor, excuse me.
On February 27th, 2025, this is evidence of what is a supernatural occurrence. This is not sunlight. This is not a reflection of light. This is the supernatural phenomenon that's happening. It's happening legally. What's legally relevant is that it's occurring inside of what is designated as a private space at a facilitating venue, where I've documented the fake sun remains idle all day long over the specific apartment building in order to focus what is the presence of the people who are gang stalking with the government. And the evidence that the government is stalking is the very specific environment. The evidence that the government is a sex offender is the evidence of the specific environment inside of the private space. This is light that's just appearing. You can see it appearing on my hand as I move through it, and this is while I'm at the floor.
All right, sunlight is not shooting like a laser, number one, through peepholes, through windows, and then also ricocheting off of those windows to create the shape of that window in the dirt outside. Sunlight is not, let me see, coming down under an angle. There's a covered patio structure outside. Remember, when you're looking at this light activity on the floor, okay, at a lower level. And what is this about? This is speaking to the obsession that these demons have with touching me. You're going to prosecute for the mens rea that you are deducing from this conduct with this engineered light. This is the predatory mind state, the criminal mind behind stalking with light. It's not even naturally occurring. It's while you are obsessively stalking in the path, and your obsession, you're hiding it by living somewhere, but you're not lawfully living there, and you're stalking somebody else while you want to on the surface appear as though you have a right to be there, and you're disinterested and you don't even know the person that's next to you who you are obsessively stalking. And the impossible light activity is the direct evidence. Okay, psychopaths are the ones that do this with their back to you, when everything about their presence and their presence in that environment and all activity that's being created is the evidence of their obsession while they're stalking. No demon has to look or speak to you to go to federal prison for federal group stalking and monitoring. But we have more than that. We have way more than that. But I want to be clear, when you're prosecuting the government, you're prosecuting a maniacal psychopath. It's a spirit of Satan, and the entity is engaging and relying on the very shallow, surface level assessment of what things look like, okay? And assuming that the federal government is not going to pierce beneath the surface to understand and recognize the psychopaths that are targeting someone and trying to falsely depict that person when they are under all circumstances revealed as delusional, violent sex offenders who are dangerous psychopaths. Okay, salivating a bloodthirsty appetite to kill someone, to sexually traumatize someone, and to follow someone relentlessly until they can take their life. That's why the government is gang stalking. I want to be clear. They're not doing it for funsies. This impossible light activity is not occurring inside of this department for no reason. And it shows obsession. The obsession that you show with the impossible circus-like light activity, this is the evidence of the demons who are stalking and who are obsessed with me. This is not a compliment. I'm showing you how you are analytically breaking down the specific environment where the entity has to do all manner of circus and breaking your back, bending backwards in order to gang stalk you with light, gang stalk you with activity. Nobody walking around in the apartment is causing a 6.0 Richter scale earthquake such that the walls and the ceiling are cracking. Bending over way backwards, breaking their back in order to gang stalk you. It's the evidence of obsession. Why are strangers obsessed with somebody? Why are strangers stalking someone? Your obsession is evident under the fake sun. Your obsession is evident with the engineered light. Your obsession is evident while you go to the extent of placing yourself in federal evidence on video and crossing path. That's evidence of obsession. Yes, it's an intellectually inept third party, but that's evidence of obsession, a demon-possessed one. This is obsession that is born by an entire entity. Remember, the fake sun is remaining over me at an apartment complex where the government is operating a whole system, wasting millions of dollars on little old me. They use their planes, they use their helicopters, they use their fire stations, their fire trucks, their police vehicles, they're using everything. Ambulances. There's a lot of money just in order to pay somebody to engage in gang stalking by virtue of working for the various departments that I just referenced, and then also using the vehicles, using the resources that they're engaging in all of this to gang stalk one person. This is the evidence of obsession. This is the entity that wants to murder somebody. They're both enamored. You're obsessed, but you're also infuriated by my existence. And then I have the audacity, the wherewithal, the presence of mind to prove it, to prosecute it, to legislate around it, to inform others and educate about it. Satan hates my guts. And understand, Satan is embodied through the environment. Satan is embodied through the demon-possessed who surround me. They're both obsessed with me, and they also want to kill me. It is an ongoing threat that the federal government is sitting around watching and observing. Okay, so this is what I'm getting to with regard to the analysis and what the federal government is sitting around watching underway. But again, this is the case that is beyond proven, beyond a reasonable doubt. This is the environment where AVANATH Capital Management is going to be prosecuted as a corrupt gang stalking company. Where this is the environment on the inside of your apartments. This is not a private. This is not a private space. This is not a where your privacy is being protected. This is where the privacy is being interfered not only by the government but by the landlord itself. Even while its employees are engaging in that very foolish conduct of handing over evidence to the federal government to its own demise because they're blinded by their own obsession. All right, that's just speaking to the inferiority of Satan. Satan is, again, a spirit that needs to rely on a whole population because he's not omnipotent, he's not omniscient, all right? And it's not a numbers game. Okay, what Christ accomplished on the cross, no matter how many demons want to resist, you will be under the feet of the one who has defeated you at Calvary. It's getting pathetic, all right? It's beyond pathetic, all right? But this is going to equal what are damages in civil court. This is going to equal enhanced time in federal prison. As, again, another day the fake sun remains, another day the ongoing terrorism via engineered light, the ongoing evidence of the entity, again, as I documented very heavily this morning, the hostile demons engaging in hours of psychological torture, interfering with the television. The moment that I wake up at 9, 10 a.m., you can see me, my reflection through this, through the television screen. The moment that I wake up, I didn't even move yet. The moment that I wake up, my computer screen, the desktop, the lock screen appears, and I had not touched it because the entity interfered with my connection that caused the desktop screen to appear. I immediately grab my phone. The moment that this occurs, the television goes out. This is monitoring. It's activity creation inside of a private space. This is evidence of obsession. Why are you so concerned? Why are you doing things such as, it's very sick, first of all, but secondly, it speaks to how important I am. Why am I so important to a bunch of strangers? Because they're demon possessed. This is obsession that Satan is exhibiting through the people whom he has consumed by his spirit. And these demon-possessed people are so far down the rabbit hole, they're willing to go to prison for my genitalia. I'm that important to them. They're giving up their kids. They're giving up their freedom. They're giving up their future in politics, their public office, their position, their career in whatever field that I'm prosecuting and having them removed from, as it serves a threat to the public, like a corrupt gang-stalking police department that wants to engage in kidnapping. The Ontario Police Department, they engaged in more than just gang stalking, all right? You will be disbanded where you engage in what is already intolerable. You're engaged in domestic terrorism. You're entirely malicious. This is a league of psychopaths who are actually engaging in what is stalking people while they are wearing a badge. It does not get any more malicious than that. And the entity is doing so while you also committed egregious acts and repeated acts of criminal defamation and kidnapping. While Satan wants to act like a police officer having authority under the law while you're obsessively stalking me day and night, and then you put handcuffs on me and take me to your facilitating venue to keep me kidnapped in your facility where you're still gang stalking because it's not based on where you think you belong, by your address, where you pay rent or mortgage, or where you're shopping in public. This is not the laws that surround. They're abusing, exploiting the constitutional laws, thinking that no one's ever going to know what they're doing. Satan thought he had the perfect system, and he doesn't. It's highly flawed, as I continuously show. This is what's going on with regard to the specific environment. As they're interfering with my what I'm listening to and interfering with my operation, my device, the desktop lock screen shows up. And as I start moving with simultaneity, in other words, showing stalking, following, mirroring with simultaneity. Stalking is a term of art with regard to what the demons are doing in the specific environment. And doing so, interfering with the television. This is a communication device. This is all Title 18 criminal conduct. All right? Doing so while, again, I'm pointing out what is the antenna. This is not a malfunction. It's an interference with the operation of a communication device. And this is beyond any question. Walking in front of my face is not the evidence of innocence. You are surrounded by, this is, again, the entity that's so short-sighted because they're blinded by obsession with me. Okay, they cannot intellectually contend. They can't. Okay, so they're blinded with their obsession. They are defeated by the very spirit that's using them to target me, and I'm prosecuting them in the physical. I'm exposing them in the spiritual. Okay, there is nothing other than gang stalking happening while engineer light is appearing on the ceiling and on the wall. They are using the communication device, which is the television, doing so with simultaneity to my waking up. This is how important I am. The moment that I wake up. Okay, and these demons are also doing so years, but right here I want to speak to what is hours of interference with the television signal. And this is, again, demons who are just hostile because of what it is I continuously document onto YouTube, onto my website, on my podcast, and I'm going to continuously do that. And I want to be clear now, like I said before, the entity is doing so while the federal government is aware of everything that is going on, and the federal government is, at this point, just sitting back and watching it happening. And now me being someone who I was forced to, but this is the will of God. It wasn't his will for the federal government to, and because, you know what, the federal government very likely may not have done it. So I'm not even going to hypothesize to that. And it was the Lord's will that his child be subject to this system, not because I was going to be sacrificed, but because I would speak the truth unapologetically about what the wicked are doing and who the wicked are and how the wicked want you to think about them and how they want to appear before you and how they rely on a surface level assessment of who they are and what they're doing. Okay, this is relevant with regard to the specific environment. That's what's inside of this apartment. Engineer light across the ceiling and across the floor. So this is, again, I want to get the current time right now. It's currently 4:25 p.m. where the fake sun remains. You can see the engineer light. I captured it earlier. It remains there, but you're talking about just mutation and changing concentration. It's not the product of sunlight that's reaching through. While again, that is evidence of the entity stalking with the fake sun. Not because the fake sun is the cause of that. It exists apart from the fake sun. But it is evidence that, oh, the fake sun is here because that's not sunlight. And it's just a different color. And the entity is doing so while the engineered light remains coating, and it appears and disappears all day long, moves all across inside of the apartment. You can see my enlarged shadow. This is a sex offense. This is going to prosecute a gang stalking landlord. It's going to prosecute all of its very foolish employees who are monitoring. And this is the evidence of the fake sun. Okay, this fake sun has nothing to do with what is actually the sun and sunlight. I'm breaking down what is recognizing the spiritual realm, where the demon possessed are targeting American citizens. This is the same what you saw earlier today, actually, where I was on the floor showing you the engineer light that was on the floor. And as the fake sun is all, again, you're looking at the false logic that the sun is going to be at that floor level, because that's the only guise that the demons ever planned for with regard to, well, where's the sunlight coming from? Oh, it's the sun. Oh, it's not the sun. It's not possibly the sun. Let me show you when it through a peephole. Let me show you, well, the blinds are closed. While I showed you that fake sun at the same address at 8 o'clock in the morning, that's not the sun when it's 9 hours later. It's not the sun while I'm aiming the camera at the floor on the inside of this apartment like I showed you earlier. But this is all the entity ever planned. By the entity, I mean Satan himself. I mean the demon possessed themselves. But this is what you'll see, the fake sun, as I aim the camera, which is an impossible occurrence. That is the exact same thing that you just saw right now as I am aiming the camera right here through these blinds. Okay, that's the P.O.C. though. It's not the sun, and it's not sunlight. It's breaking down. This is the spiritual realm, and this is where, again, the demon possessed are very real. This is where there's a criminal system of stalking an American citizen, and it is born of obsession, and it's obsession that threatens the life of an American citizen. Okay, I'm gonna complete this video here. It's 4:27 p.m. All right, starting this video with the evidence of what the LAPD, that's speaking to what the government, the state of California, was subjecting me to in Los Angeles under what is an entire scientific phenomenon, that which is impossible to naturally occur. The fact that it's impossible to naturally be the case is speaking to a system that is suspect on its face. So what's actually going on around here at this apartment complex, and it's stalking. It's stalking, a whole government operation of stalking, and they're doing it because they want to murder and kidnap somebody, and they continuously do it even while they face the reality of their being exposed on a world stage, all right, to the public, and then you're able to see even more and more clearly how obsessed the demon possessed are when there is no road to victory from here. Okay, but when you're prosecuting the demon possessed, the domestic terrorists, they're going to federal prison for even longer. You're going to award even more damages. You're going to remove corrupt companies like AVANATH Capital Management. They're domestic terrorists, and American citizens have a right to not be subject to this where they live, where they pay rent, or where they work. Okay, because that's what my documentation shows, as I've been in these roles myself. It is currently 4:29 p.m. This is P.O.C.